Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to be going over some very cold conditions and some snowy conditions actually over parts of the Rockies and even in some of those lower elevation regions, seeing quite a bit of snowfall. That cold air, that really cold air mass, which is going to have potentially 40 to 50 degree below normal temperatures within it, is going to be moving to the east and eventually hitting parts of the eastern United States. And that's really the pattern that we're really going to be in for the next few weeks, especially as we get into September and October, and maybe it even carries on into November and into the winter months. So we're going to be tracking out all those colder temperatures with you guys. We're going to go over your temperature anomaly map as well as your actual temperatures, and then we're going to look at the potential snowstorm over parts of the Rockies that could dump over a foot or two, and even some of these lower elevation areas such as Denver and Albuquerque could still see quite a bit of snowfall, maybe 6 or 12 inches of snowfall this early on. It's going to be very interesting to see how that one plays out. So here is the current National Weather Service page. No advisories for the colder conditions over the northern plains so far, but I do think over the next couple of days you're going to start to see those hard freeze warnings, frost advisories, and all of that just start popping up, especially over the northern and central United States, and then they might even pop up over northern New England and into parts of the Northeast as we get closer to the 11th, the 12th, and the 13th when that colder air starts to move further to the east. Now, we have actually some warmer conditions over parts of the southwest. We have some heat advisories, excessive heat watches, and excessive heat warnings for the southwest all the way up into Oregon. And then we have another area of heat advisories and excessive heat warnings in effect for parts of Virginia, North Carolina, and South Carolina, as well as for western Florida and also for a little portion of Louisiana there. Flood watches in effect for parts of West Virginia, Ohio, and also for Kentucky there. And we also have some wind advisories for parts of northeastern Minnesota and northwestern Wisconsin. So that wraps up your National Weather Service page. Let's start looking at some of your temperature anomaly forecasts. Now, I like to use the ensemble models, and this is the European ensemble model. So it's a collection of about 40 model runs and models, and they average out what all those models showed into a temperature anomaly forecast. So it's a little bit more accurate than the just regular base European model, and it shows you an averaged out look at how cold these temperatures could really get. So we're gonna alternate between the temperature anomaly map and the actual low temperatures for that day in just one moment. So this is basically the temperature anomaly map for basically right around now. This was actually just a couple hours ago, so it's practically when I'm speaking right now, and we do have some warmer temperatures for the east, and then warmer also for parts of the central and the western United States, with a couple pockets of cooler conditions. Now, something I really want you to pay attention to is look up here near Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba in Canada. That's where you're going to really start to see the core of the cold air starts to kind of wrap up, and with that, you're going to get a very deep trough that's going to dip down into the central United States and unleash just some very Arctic conditions. You're going to have low temperatures in the 20s over parts of the plains and in the higher elevation regions, maybe approaching the teens and maybe even some single digits in some of those higher elevation regions. Now, here is for this would be by the third, so this would be by Thursday, or this would be pretty much for today, and just kind of give you an overall look at today. This would be for again tonight, and you are seeing those colder conditions for much of the northern plains, and that is going to be kind of moving southward and southeastward as we move on. So here is by tomorrow, which would be Friday, and we are looking at some cooler conditions still over the central and the eastern United States, except for parts of the southeast, and some very warm conditions for the west. When you see these such contrasts in these temperatures, where you see really extremely warm temperatures in the west and extremely cold temperatures in the east, that's really just showing you that you have an amplified pattern, and it really can fuel some very big Arctic outbreaks. Now, here would be by the 5th, Saturday the 5th, and you are looking at still those persistent cooler temperatures for parts of the northeastern, and then kind of going down through the Tennessee Valley and into parts of the south central with those cooler than normal conditions. Now, here's by Sunday the 6th, and we are seeing still warmer conditions for the plains and the central United States, still cooler for the East Coast. But look at what is brewing up in here in northern Manitoba, northern Saskatchewan, northern Alberta, Canada. Look what's kind of getting fueled up over in the Canadian prairie. We're looking at some very very cooler than normal conditions that are gonna eventually unleash down into the central plains and then eventually move their way to the east. Now, here is by Monday the 7th in the evening, and we are looking at anywhere in those pinks and purples. Again, this is an averaged out of about 40 models or so. So there are some models that are probably showing this even cooler than this, but this is about 15 to about 20 degrees Celsius below normal. And in Fahrenheit, that would be right around 35 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit below your normal. And your normal temperatures in these areas are already getting quite cool for this time of year. So take away 40 degrees from that, that is extremely cold. And I'm going to show you your actual low temperatures. So here are your low temperatures for Monday the 7th. And again, they're still not too cold, but we do start to see some of those lighter whites and blues that are indicating that we have temperatures between 35 and about 30 degrees Fahrenheit. And so all the actual temperatures are in Fahrenheit, all the temperature anomalies are in Celsius. It's a bit confusing, but I hope you guys can kind of understand and it's not too difficult. Now, here is for Tuesday the 8th, and we are seeing pretty much, I think the 8th into the 9th is really going to be the coldest of the temperatures over parts of Wyoming through Montana, South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, and into parts of the panhandles of Texas and Oklahoma, as well as parts of New Mexico there, where you have even colder than normal temperatures. This is where you're approaching 45 degrees below your normal, and this would be right around the evening time. So you're still not at your low temperature, but you're also getting to right around this is right after you've hit your maximum high temperature. So your high temperature is probably topping out in the middle 40s for some of these regions. So very, very cold, all the way down into Oklahoma and northern Texas there. Now, here's your low temperatures here for this would be by Monday, or actually Tuesday the 8th, and we are seeing some cooler than normal temperatures. And look at that, we have 30s widespread all throughout the northern plains and into parts of the Rockies there. Now let's continue here. This would be by Wednesday the 9th, and we are looking at some much cooler than normal conditions, and this is moving further east. So now it's getting into parts of the plains, the northern plains, into the western Midwest, and also into parts of the south central United States, with those temperatures that are nearing 20 degrees below normal, and in some cases closer to 30 degrees below your normal in Fahrenheit. Now, here's your actual temperatures for Wednesday the 9th of September, and we are looking at some overall 20 to maybe even closer to 15 degree Fahrenheit temperatures over parts of the Rockies, and then surrounding those areas we still have 30s, getting all the way down to the panhandle of Texas and also into central and southern New Mexico there, so very very far to the south. Now, here would be by the 10th, so Thursday the 10th, and we are seeing this is starting to weaken a little bit. And the reason that I don't think it's going to be this week, I still think you're going to see some pockets of 30 to 40 degree Fahrenheit below normal. I think this is just showing that you have a little bit of disagreement in the models when you're seeing kind of some broader areas of generally cooler than normal temperatures. So I do think it will be a little bit more intense than this European ensemble model is showing. Now, here is by Thursday the 10th, your actual low temperatures, and they are moving into the Great Lakes and the upper Midwest and northern New England region. You are looking at some low temperatures in the 40s and maybe even approaching the upper 30s in some of those regions. So maybe some frost by Thursday the 10th, and here would be by Sunday, or actually Saturday, Saturday the 12th, and we are looking at generally much cooler than normal conditions over the eastern United States. It is most likely going to be cooler than this is showing generally, but just because it's an overall averaged out model, it doesn't show up as profound on this model. Now, here's your actual temperatures for Friday, or Friday the 11th of September, and we are looking at now it's getting into the northeast where you're getting some low temperatures anywhere between the 50s and into the 40s, and maybe even some upper 30s in some isolated locations. So let's start looking at your 6 to 10 day temperature outlook from the Center for Climate Prediction Center, and we are looking at some generally cooler than normal conditions over the next 6 to 10 days over the central United States, and that generally shifts just slightly to the east as we get into the 8 to 14 day time frame, and we are looking at the core of that cold moving into parts of pretty much from Minnesota southward into Texas and Louisiana. Now, here is your 3 to 4 week experimental outlook, and we are looking at that shifting further to the east as we move on. This would be from the September 12th to the 25th. So a little bit later on, they are expecting this cold air to move further to the east. Now, here's your chances of seeing hazardous temperatures, and we see actually a risk of hazardous cold temperatures all over parts of the central United States there. So we actually do have moderate risk of hazardous conditions over parts of the Midwest and the northern plains between the 10th and the 11th. So definitely keep that in mind. Also, if you live out in the West, you have excessive heat conditions, and that could pose a risk for those areas over the next few days. Now, and let's start talking about that snowstorm I was talking about in the Rockies, and I'll quickly show you an overview of how that's going to go. This would be by the 6th, so this would be kind of getting into Sunday night by this point, and you're going to notice that this area of precipitation is just going to dip further to the south. This is all according to the European model here. Now, this would be by Monday night, and you're seeing most of that snowfall moving into parts of Wyoming, and that is not just snowfall in all those higher elevation regions. In some of those lower elevation regions, you are also seeing snowfall in those regions. Now, here is by this would be by Tuesday the 8th, and we are looking at even some lower elevation areas. Denver is getting into some of this snowfall, and this is only by September 8th by this point when you're seeing this snowfall. So even lower elevation regions again like Denver and Boulder, Colorado, all of those areas still seeing snowfall out of this, even though they are not highly elevated. As you get further to the east, temperatures are slightly warmer, and it will just be rainfall for the most part. At least that's what it's looking like right now. Now, here would be by Wednesday the 9th, and we are looking at some general snow for parts of mainly the higher elevation regions by this point, and then it basically wraps up after that, and it basically just dips down further and further to the south, not bringing too much snowfall of that by that point. Now, we are looking at a general swath of about 6 to 12 inches, and higher elevation regions should be expecting about 24 to maybe even 48 inches or more of snowfall in some higher, extreme high elevation regions. So that is going to wrap it up for today's video. Please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning on notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.